Am I the jerk for getting a mother of two arrested because she assaulted me at work? I-19 male work in a fairly popular chain retail store. Everything started about 3 days ago, when I was working the closing shift. One thing to note about our store is that if an item is not in stock, the customer can ask us to order the item to any branch of their choosing to be delivered for the next day. The woman in question walked through the doors about 2 minutes before we were closing and walked straight to the register where I was working. She looked quite rushed and started explaining that she was here to collect an order she had placed. I politely explained that the area to collect deliveries had closed several hours ago and that she would have to return tomorrow if she wanted to get her delivery. She began pleading and explained that she had been too busy taking care of her children, who were with her, to come and pick her order up. I explained that the delivery area had its own separate staff and anyone with access to the room had already left the building. She seemed frustrated by this response but left with her children. Since I was already scheduled to be working the following day, I knew I would have to deal with the woman and was dreading having them return to the store, as not only was she condescending and rude, but her children were quite loud and energetic and knocked over a lot of things which I had to clean up. The following day, I was about halfway through my shift when the woman walked up to my register and placed a candle on the counter, which I rung her up for, and then she started demanding that I track her order as she went up to the collections area, and they were unable to find the parcel. I checked the system and noticed that the order was placed over a month ago, so I told her that because she had not picked up her order within the 14-day window, the order had likely been sent back to the warehouse. She flew off the handle saying it was all my fault, and if I had just let her get the parcel yesterday, everything would have been fine. I tried to explain that the parcel would have already been sent back weeks ago, but before I could even finish my sentence, she picked up the candle and threw it at me. It was one of those candles in a glass jar, and it hit me in the temple and smashed to the ground, and I ended up falling and hitting my head on the wall behind me. As I was trying to get up, she started shouting even louder and started throwing other various objects at me. The commotion must have attracted security as they ended up taking her to the back and held her and her 2 children there until the cops showed up, and my manger told me to go to the break room until she called me on my headset. I ended up sitting in the break room for about an hour and a half until my manger walked in with the cops. They sat down and started asking a bunch of questions about what happened, and I told them everything. Then they asked me if I wanted to press charges on the woman, and even though I was not seriously injured outside of a bruise on my head, I told them I would. My manager then told me to clock out early and said I could take the rest of the week off. When I went home, I told my mom everything, and she called me a heartless jerk and told me she didn't raise me like this. She said I should have thought about the impact it would have on the woman's children to have their mother in jail, and that I wouldn't understand how difficult it is to be a mother. I initially thought I was in the right, but after talking to my mother, I am now second-guessing myself. So I just want to know, am I the jerk for getting a mother of 2 arrested because she assaulted me at work? Am I the jerk for feeling no guilt or regret for legally emancipating myself from my dad when I was 16 to stop him providing for his family with my inheritance? My parents divorced when I was 4. My dad cheated on my mom with multiple women and got more than one other woman pregnant. I lived primarily with my mom and saw my dad every other weekend. When I was 7, my dad got remarried. He later adopted his wife's daughter. Then he had more children with her. He didn't have anything to do with the kids he conceived through his affairs, but he still had more kids than he could afford with his wife. When I was 14, my mom was diagnosed with cervical cancer. It ended up being terminal, and we moved in with my grandparents, her parents. We were all worried about Dad stealing from me once I ended up in his custody when Mom died. That was so the kind of thing he would do because he regularly asked me for money when I went to his house, not that any judge cared in court. So we looked into emancipation and made sure I could fit the criteria the best way possible. After Mom died and I went to live with Dad, he tried to steal from me by accessing my bank account to withdraw money he knew I'd have from Mom to pay for stuff for his family. He said it was essentials, but it didn't matter. He did this without my permission. Once he did that, I went to the cops to file a police report, and I went to court and filed for emancipation. I was already working part-time, and the actual money from my mom was secure in another account. It took so many months. I was almost 17 before the emancipation was granted. But I met the criteria well enough to be given an emancipation. So I rented a place from a friend's family, and I worked and went to school until graduation. My grandparents legally weren't allowed to help me. I had to do it all on my own, but I did it, and it kept the money safe from my dad. He was so pissed at the time. Not just at me, but at my grandparents too, because he knew they helped me plan for that. I was no contact with my dad for a few years, and then he contacted me recently and asked me if I was ready to apologize to him and his family yet. I told him I had nothing to apologize for and not to contact me again. I already had him blocked on his own accounts, so I blocked the accounts he messaged me from, and when he contacted me again, I did the same thing. Then his wife used a fake account to tell me I was an awful person for going so far to see their kids struggle and suffer and not have enough of anything they needed. I blocked her account without a response. I went as far as reporting it to the police when they both tried a few more times. They really expected me to feel regret or guilt for it. I don't feel that way, though. Their kids are not mine to support, and they weren't my mom's kids either for her to do it via me, and she's the reason I have the money I do. So what do you think? Am I the jerk for feeling no guilt or regret for legally emancipating myself from my dad to stop him providing for his family with my inheritance? Am I the jerk for telling my husband to not bring his sick ex to our house and not get personally involved in nursing? So I 35 female and my husband 39 male. We have been married for 5 years. Before marrying to me, he was with his high school sweetheart for a decade. Apparently, they had compatibility issues and then lost contact. Now his ex has got a kidney failure and is on dialysis and has come in our city for treatment, and according to my husband, she contacted my husband through a mutually friend. And now my husband wants to help her. Very politely, I had asked my husband, does she not have her own people to help and nurse her? Why contact him all of a sudden after years? My husband was pissed and said, how can I be so petty and I'm mature regarding a patient asking such stupid questions, and that he expects better from me. Then I said, if the situation is so dire, then let's get her a place in our flat in other locality. And if you are so adamant, then let's finance her nursing facility. What is need of getting personally involved like a nurse? And that I don't want to get involved in personally nursing his ex, or in her medical recovery process in person, nor do I want to go to see her in hospital with him. And my husband said he is just disappointed in me, that I am showing jealousy over a long-ended relationship and cannot show maturity even with a patient. I tried to have another conversation with my husband, and my parents are soon visiting my house. But I don't think we have made any progress. I talked pretty politely that it is very unfair to me and my boys, I have 2 3-year-old twins, that he is willing to be an emotional support tool to an ex, and is so hell-bent to be at her side. Caring about acquaintances is a different thing, but issuing things like being an emotional support tool, caretaker, all this should be exclusive to one's spouse, and issuing it to any third party, even if it is a platonic female friend, will be the foundation stone of an emotional affair, let alone issuing it to an ex. He told me that it is tragic that I don't trust him even after being together for 9 years. We dated for 4 years, have been married for 5, and accusing him of having an affair. It is natural for people to care about their loved ones, acquaintances especially when they are sick, and being an emotional support tool, being a caretaker, being at one's people's side is the bare minimum one can do and does not automatically translate into an emotional affair, and it is sad that I am so narrow-minded, that I am taking offense in him being personally involved with his ex. Ideally, I too should have volunteered to help his ex, visited her, consoled her, shown some empathy instead of being an insecure person. I said, I am not negating the fact that we should help a sick person, and we get nurses and doctors involved and assist financially, but you offering emotional intimacy to her does not go down my throat. He once again said, tossing just money to a sick person is so cold-hearted on my part, and a patient needs to see that people are available for her. To which I said, I am not obliged to be available for her, nor are you. Nobody will blame you for not taking responsibility of your ex's life troubles. He cut me in between and said what a selfish take and how he will be selfish to not respond properly to a person asking help. Clive, one of my twins, woke up and our conversation ended. Update 1 week later. It has been 1 week since I first made that post here, and it feels as if centuries have passed in mere 7 days. A lot has happened, and I feel a kind of numb and dumb. My husband and I are getting divorced. His ex, who has kidney failure and is on dialysis, did not reach out only because she needed help. She reached out because she wanted him back. Her illness is real, but her intentions were not. She eventually admitted that to me directly, and she was quite blatant in this regard. Maybe her illness has made her irritable and scornful, but that is how it was. Right now, I feel strangely calm. It is not unexpected, but I am still unable to process that a man can leave a relationship of 1 decade with 2 kids. We dated for 4 years, have been married for 5, and have 2 twins who are 3-year-olds, like this with zero visible regret. After everything came to light, my husband admitted that she was the one who ended their relationship years ago because she thought he lacked drive and stability. He never really got over her. Seeing her again, fragile, vulnerable, and remorseful, reopened old feelings he had never dealt with. And in my mind, I was like, jerk, you could have admitted it from day one instead of gaslighting me, but I guess I was just speechless there. I actually met her by coincidence 3 days ago. My husband had been visiting the hospital frequently, and one afternoon he forgot his insurance file, which also contained some of our joint investment papers. Since I was disentangling things from him in background while waiting for my parents to come and giving my marriage a last chance, I had gone to collect it from the administrative office at the dialysis unit. The dialysis unit was tucked in a quieter wing separated from the main outpatient block. Outside, the renal chamber waiting area was attached. I was standing there waiting for the administrative officer to bring out the insurance file when she appeared with a nurse. She recognized me right away, and before I could even introduce myself and told the nurse to give us room for a moment, the nurse was hesitant in leaving an immunocompromised person, but she insisted on a couple of minutes of privacy, and then she asked me, "You are his," my husband's name, wife, right? I swear to God, I have not met this woman for once, so I don't know how she recognized me in a glance. I said, "Yeah." She asked me to sit down for a moment. And then she said, "I was planning to bring this up gradually to you, but it is better we met here. I guess today or tomorrow you have to know this. There ain't any use beating around the bush, so I will straight come on the point. I know you probably think I'm intruding, but I never stopped loving him." I was like, no way, it is real, and in reality she was married to another man for a while who I guess died in some accident, so it is not like she was some cinematic protagonist spending her life single-pinning for my jerk of a husband as she was sounding. I was the one who ended things, and I regret it deeply. I just want to be with him again, even if it's only for whatever time I have left. I am not exaggerating a single word. These were her exact words. I left the file counter without saying anything. In the side corridor near the elevator lobby, I would have burst into violent sobs had nurses and other people not been moving there too. When I got home and told my husband what had happened, he did not deny it. He said he could not help how he felt, and that being around her made him realize he still loved her. At this point, I did not think I had anything else to say. I am now a single mother of twin boys, and honestly, I am fine. I earn much more than my husband, and the house we live in is entirely my property. The apartment is in the Southern Academic District, not far from the old university campus where I teach. It is a 3-bedroom flat on the 4th floor of a quiet residential block. I bought it 7 years ago when I was promoted to associate professor, using my savings and part of a research grant I had received for curriculum development. When this all came to light, I asked him to leave, and he did. It was not a dramatic fight. I told him calmly that if his heart was with her, that is where he should go. There is no legal obstacle in it. He had contributed little to the mortgage or maintenance, and the property was always mine. He did try to bring up, we are intertwined on other financial fronts, and honestly, even if it is partial entanglement, what complicates things now are the shared investments and educational funds we set up for our twin boys. We have a joint mutual fund account, a children's savings bond, and a small commercial investment in a co-working space near the railway junction. The co-working space investment is another area of dispute. Although the capital came from me, the business registration lists both our names for tax convenience, which was his idea only. Now he is attempting to claim half the profits from the current lease cycle. My lawyer has filed for a forensic accounting review to prove the monetary trail originates from my personal savings. This is looking exhausting in theory only, and there are few more entanglements that will be too much to type, and not to forget the legal proceedings of divorce, which we have not started yet, and not to forget custody stuff. I filed for divorce today and I feel strangely calm but hollow. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe for daily Reddit stories. All rights belong to the original author. This video is for narration and entertainment purposes only.